Dartmoor Letterboxing. It's solving clues with map and compass to find hidden rubber stamps. Once found, you take an impression, stamp the logbook with your personal stamp to let others know you visited, and then hide it back in the same spot for the next person to find. For some, it's the perfect way to spoil a nice walk. For others, it's a good bit of fun, exercise, a challenge, a distraction, an obsession. It combines nature, navigation, puzzles, and plodding around the Alps of Devon, although quite often it's a lot of walking in circles, getting soaked through, and coming home empty-handed. Letterboxing is a local tradition that's agreed to have started in 1854, nearly 100 years before Dartmoor gained its national park status, when James Perrott, a moorland guide from Chagford, placed a glass bottle in a cairn at Cranmere Pool. He thought this challenge might attract Victorian walkers to the boggy heart of High Dartmoor, and he thought right. Visitors would leave postcards in the glass bottle, and the next visitor would return them, so that all who made the trip had proof of their adventure. Unknowingly to Perrott, his idea would capture the enthusiasm of others with a love for the outdoors, and over the years, his challenge evolved into what today we call letterboxing. My granddad introduced me to the hobby as a nipper, and back then, I found it a bit odd. I wondered, why would old men get up before the sun was up to go walking still before the sun was up, just to go looking for rubber stamps? Years later, I'd find out after deciding to give it a go myself. Starting out, I looked forward to adventures in miles of wilderness, to understand more about the hobby that gripped Grandad, and to meet an eccentric community I'd heard strange stories about. But unfortunately, it didn't take long to realise that for one reason or another, it seemed I joined after letterboxing's heyday. It took me a while before I even bumped into another letterboxer, and when I did, they said it's nice to see some fresh blood. What's more, is most of the logbooks I'd find in the boxes would only have a trickle of visits from the same few dozen boxes in recent years. But one day, when hunting an older box, put out in 1979, I noticed its logbook, which was on its 7th replacement, was stamped by hundreds of visitors. When comparing its visits to recent numbers, it was clear to me that the hobby has seen a radical decline in activity in recent years. I was quite saddened by this, because it hadn't taken long for me to get hooked, and I didn't want the hobby to fade out. I wanted to help. I thought, if I could just get a rough idea of how many people were actively letterboxing, I could use this data to monitor the future progression or decline of the hobby, and hopefully play some part in reviving some interest. It was then I decided to conduct letterboxing's own census, to tally how many are actively boxing and to what extent. Before the turn of the year, I carved and hid out 4 different stamps at different distances. I put one in the phone box at Rundlestone by the roadside, one at Hollowtor, about half a mile from the road, one at Foxtor, about 2 miles out, and one at Cut Hill, the furthest point from a road. Next, I submitted my clues to the official catalogue of clues, which is published annually each spring. I took another stamp out to the Furtor meet on New Year's Day, which is a tradition for ramblers and letterboxers, but a tradition that has also seen reduced numbers of letterboxers in recent years.
Let's just go as one big happy family then.
Happy family, yeah.
You know what's happy hot man?
Yeah, that's the way we go, so might as well do it.
Next, all there was to do was to wait for letterboxers to hopefully visit the boxes. Luckily by now, I'd developed a pretty good way to run down the clock, and what follows is a year on the moor with a letterboxer collecting stamps. To the uninitiated, I hope this can be a good lick into a hobby that can be tricky for newcomers to learn the ropes. And for the seasoned boxer, I hope this captures the essence of letterboxing and pays tribute to our unique and wonderful pastime. Chances are, if you're no stranger to Dartmoor, you're probably already aware of letterboxing, and maybe you've even come across a few. However, putting a stamp in some Tupperware and leaving it on a tour to become soggy mush doesn't constitute a proper letterbox. Instead, there's a code of conduct to follow, which guides boxers to box responsibly with minimal trace. So if you're thinking of giving it a go, have a look at the rules and get to know the community. All the info for this can be found online or in the annual catalogue of clues. Each year in the preface of this annual catalogue, there's an acknowledgement for long-standing boxers who've passed away over the previous year, and further losses are shared through the year in the monthly updates. These are sad, regular reminders of how the numbers of boxes goes down over time, and the only way to keep things going is if new members join in. To try and form a gang like Grandad had, I'd invite friends and family out as often as I could, but nobody asked to come again regularly, as most already had other hobbies and far more preferable ways to spend their time. Not that I'm surprised. Getting tired and chilly, looking for needles in haystacks isn't everyone's cup of tea, but for those with a taste for it, there's nothing quite like it. The best place to meet these people is at the biannual meet every spring and autumn on the Sunday around clock change day. These are one-day events where boxers come down from the mall to meet up, swap clues, info and equipment, purchase charity walks, register new boxes, and of course, show off their latest finds. With each meet, my network of boxers to venture out with grows, but as living far away and aligning busy schedules is tricky, I'd head back out on my Todd for the next month or two. That is until an old school friend joined one sunny day and showed much promise. Having mainly boxed alone for the past 3 years, it was great to have some company. Another pair of hands and eyes meant we'd often find the boxes in half the time, and I had somebody to send ahead of me to test softer ground. Like a proud parent, it was great to see a new boxer celebrate their finds and get to grips with using map, compass and clues. Before long, they'd get their first wacky Dartmoor experience, where what we thought to be a white stoat poking its head out of a wall turned out to be a couple of rats. We'd later post some pictures online, and somebody realised that they were abandoned pets, so they sent out a small search party and found 2 males, 2 females, 16 babies, and fundraised £512 to pay for all their vet bills. It was another example of letterboxers being stewards of the moor, and later I'd knock up a stamp to tell the tale. Moving into summer, we'd stretch every ray of light, starting earlier, finishing later, and venturing to the deeper parts of Dartmoor where the special boxes hide.
Historically the most secretive box you'll find, and is the second oldest on Dartmoor.
I've got 3-foot triangular rock.
Voila! Thank you for your rootin' tootin' Thursies. For also maintaining this oldie. I've got all the 1/100s available in the catalogue, and I that are there. Someone should Edward.
I can read that.
I can't read your writing, and your grammar is terrible. I did it, Ed.
Good man. Looks good. Yeah, nice.
Multi-colour.
Some days allowed for legs out and longer breaks to soak up the sun.
What's Rotor?
Others called for coats in summer storms that kept rivers topped up and had us stamping in under umbrellas.
Give us a smile.
For one reason or another, some letterboxes can have a habit of disappearing, so every month I'd read the monthly email updates to check on the status of the census boxes, and if there were no reports, I pop out to check the numbers of visitors and to make sure that the boxes remained in good condition. I found the box in the phone box out of position a few times, but much to my surprise, it survived the year. On one of his visits, the phone box was filled with a biblical number of large black flies, but luckily I had a friend with me to send in to check on it. He still likes to bring it up from time to time. Around October, the census box at Hollowtor went missing, so I wasn't able to capture a full amount of visits in that one for the year. What worth somebody else saw in it, I'll never know, but vanishing boxes is something as old as the hobby itself, as even James Perrett's original glass bottle went missing at one point. It's an unfortunate occupational hazard, but if I'd been offered for 3 out of 4 of my boxes to last a year, I would have taken that at the start of the year. Thankfully, because of my regular checks, I had a pretty good idea of how many people had visited the box shortly before it went missing, so not all the data was lost.
Good girl. Good girl!
Hey, Bob.
Bring it here. Bring it. Bring it here. Come here. Bob. Come here. Eve. Oh, that's lovely.
So that's number 10, right? Number 10. Oh, that's the second time you've done all double figures.
Just a number of 5. The third one or not?
Got the census one? Yeah.
6-foot golden foam folder is 8 paces away on 0.55.
Yeah, it's nice.
Or could be like when they said,
Okay.
The stick can't actually go as far back as it goes.
Stop giving me excuses and start giving me faults. Exactly.
At the end of the year, I took in the boxes, counted their numbers of visits, and took time to read all the messages left in the books. Letterboxers had spilled their minds onto the pages, sharing what the hobby means to them, explaining why they do it, and offering stories from them all. Some had even made multiple visits to share the boxes with friends and to cite an accompanying box nearby. But as for the results of the census, if you think I'm about to share the numbers of visitors to each box, then I'm afraid you haven't been paying much attention. Forgive me for sounding like a broken record, but the point of this project was not only to find out how many are actively boxing, but to encourage others to pick up a map, compass and clues and head out letterboxing themselves. So if you're interested in finding out the results, you'll need to attend a meet, grab a catalogue of clues and hunt down the 2023 Dartmoor Letterboxing Census box. And who knows, maybe you'll get a taste for it and fancy joining the 100 Club, a prestigious club for people who found 100 boxes. If so, then maybe I'll see you out there. Good luck, have persistence, and most importantly, have fun. A whole world of adventure awaits those prepared to try.